Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the amazing Chris Chainsaw. Chris, how you doing today, man?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Dude, I am doing so well now. I'm going to break the fourth wall, guys. Chris and I have been talking for like a half hour and having the coolest conversation. Like, I didn't even want to start just because getting to know this guy is so rad. So now, that's what I want to do for you. I want you to get to know him. He's from
Join
Boston.
us.
Right. Born and raised out there, die-hard horror lover, husband, father of two kiddos, got a couple awesome puppies. He's a Twitch streamer, avid gamer, and a big wrestling fan. And as you also know, I talked about how he's a husband. You saw me a chainsaw a couple weeks ago, so I'm very excited to make this work. We talk a little bit about, you as a Twitch streamer. What are some of the things that you're doing over there?
I'm as variety as it comes. I have absolute video game ADHD. I cannot stick to one thing. I have if it comes out and it looks like something I want to play, I'll play it. If I don't like
Okay.
it, I don't play it again. That's we have fun, and it's a good community, and we get to talk about horror movies. We've done a couple watch alongs. My favorite was we watched all three Fear Streets in a row.
Ooh,
Yeah, that was a
love
hell of a
those,
time.
man.
Yeah, that was a great night.
We're supposed to be getting a new one next year.
I know. I'm really excited for
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
So I gotta ask, Max. I know that you're a huge horror fan. I know you're a huge gamer. If
yeah.
you could only play one genre of video game, you can only choose one to play for the rest of your life. What are you going with?
Horror all day, every day. Resident Evil. Resident Evil is my favorite franchise of all time.
Yes, I didn't know if you meant like first person shooter horror or like role play horror.
All.
Yes
Uh,
to all.
I would say Bioshock's probably big time for me. I think there's a lot
Okay.
of horror elements in that. But Resident Evil 4 changed the game for me.
Hmm.
As I'm sure a lot of people, cranking out that GameCube, that game was
Oh
special.
yeah.
Silent Hill. It's I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
Evil Within.
I love the Evil Within, man.
Oh, so
So
good.
we were just talking the other day, me and some friends, and I think one of the best jump scares of all time is in the first Resident Evil video game. Because you always have the spot where you go to the cutscene of the door opening, and you kind of always just let your guard down. But then they have the one where the door opens and the zombies come during the
Oh yeah.
cutscene. Dude, it's like one of the loud music hits. One
Yup.
of the best jump scares of all time, and it's in a video game, dude. But you're so
So
unsuspecting at that moment. You're just like, ah, fuck. Open the door.
yeah,
Let's wait for
whatever.
it
Here
to
we
load.
go.
And the zombies come right there, dude. It's so fucking legit. Like I love it so much, man.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Um, Another thing that I'm a big fan of is you are toxically positive, and I mean that in the
I
best
love
way
that.
possible.
That's so good.
And I try to be that as well. I think that especially in this community, if you want to uh preach tolerance, you have to practice tolerance. And with you and Mia, there's always just so much positivity between the two of you, and it is infectious. I've never seen either one of you really say a rotten word about anybody or anything, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I
There's a lot of
appreciate
times,
that.
especially right now in the horror community, with all the Scream stuff going on, where there's a lot of negativity about everything. So
Yeah,
it's really, really cool to see you guys constantly put out that positive vibe and have a welcoming environment to everybody and everything around you.
I appreciate that, man. It's a big part of who we are, and when we started this journey, it was like, okay, let's be who we are.
Right.
Like obviously, we're online and nobody is really in the room with us, but being ourselves is as important as promoting, as creating a community. Like I think the golden rule is probably the most overlooked thing that we can express, and
Hmm.
we just need to be kind to everybody. Everybody's fighting their own battle.
And that's the thing. You don't know who's that duck,
Yeah.
that's calm on the outside and kicking like crazy on the
Yep.
inside. And so one word of positivity could completely change somebody's whole day.
Right.
Um, And I'm talking about,
Absolutely.
you as a Twitch streamer and you as the community that I've seen you build on Twitter, especially X, which I'll never call it that.
Yeah,
Hashtag Twitter. That's for you,
it's
Elon.
Twitter. It's Twitter.
Um, so make sure I do have Chris's links down in the description. So make sure you're doing the thing over at Twitch. Make sure you're following him over on Twitter so that way you can become part of that positivity as well. Because I promise you, just like I did with Mia, you're not going to regret it. These guys belong to each other and they deserve each other because they're both amazing people that I genuinely really care about.
Oh, you're
So,
gonna make me cry, bro.
well, no, and it's not just that, but I mean, you guys are both very hardworking too. I mean, you have a bachelor's degree in film. You
Yep.
work as a butcher, which I hope you get a little bit of Rocky in there every
Oh,
now and
you
then over in
know
the
it.
freezer.
How we start
Uh,
every morning.
like it's just amazing all the hard work that you do. So, you got a bachelor's degree in film. Have you ever done anything like with short films or horror, anything like that at all yet?
I did some stuff in school, but that entire experience really it soured me. I'm
Oh,
not going to say where I went to school because
sure, totally fine.
I don't want to give that place an iota of FaceTime. But they had a very strict no blood, no gore, PG-13 policy. And I'm over here like I want to make a gore fest. Like that's a medium of the art. Let me explore that. But no, we shot, you know, uh, romantic comedies, little thrillers here and there, which were fun. Like I met a lot of great people. I had a lot of good times, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
So they were
Well,
more.
and I think the thing is, like, even if you're not into the gore or anything, like, if I'm studying this as an art that I want to pursue in my life, as long as it's, within reason, obviously, probably not shooting porn at a college film school,
We did
but
have a
as long as
class
it's
on
with,
it though.
but
Yeah, we had.
give me the opportunity to go out there and capture what I want to do.
Right, right.
Like that to me is like the biggest bummer. This isn't high school anymore.
Exactly.
We're in college.
They were more interested in kind of going at it like a trade school, and
Yeah,
pumping us out and putting us into the field where there was a group of us who were like, hey, we're artists, like let us create.
right.
So my one of my final projects was a protest I did. It was called Thursdays with Jason. So I couldn't use any prop weapons, none, not allowed. So I kept having him use like weird shit. So there's a scene where like Mia's in the shower and it's shot from the neck up. And I come in and I have a peeled banana and I just stab her with the peeled banana. And I put the like splat effect.
Right.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to get back into it someday, please let me know. I would love to work with you. I think we could have a great
Hell
time.
yeah, would love to. Absolutely. I shot a lot of commercials, but that wasn't scratching the itch.
Sure. Sure. Well, I want to throw my name in that hat. If you ever get back into it, I'd love to work with you, man.
Let's go. I got some ideas.
After this is done, we'll continue the conversation.
Love that.
But in order for you to do all this stuff, especially with anything horror related, horror had to start for you somewhere, Chris. So now I would
Absolutely.
like to
Yeah.
go back to the past
Let's
and talk
go.
about what got you started in the horror genre, your
Should
first
we
horror movie,
should we light
and
up the DeLorean?
hit 1985 and hit 88 miles per hour, baby.
We don't need
Um,
roads.
yeah, but yep, I do got to talk to you about your first horror movie, man. And your first horror movie was,
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
and I got to ask, we're talking about the OG 84, right?
OG 84. Wait, there's another one?
Yeah,
They,
right.
they came out with
Um,
another one?
and I do got a little side note here, guys. For those of you that don't know, Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie. So when you brought that up, that's a quick way to my heart as well. I think Pee-wee's Big Adventure is the only perfect movie. Back to the Future will always be my favorite. But
Right there
today
with
we're
you.
here to talk about our dream deadhead Fred. So about how old were you the first time you watched Nightmare on Elm Street?
I was 8, and that was probably way too early, but I had to conquer a fear, and I did.
Sure. Sure. Well, and I
So,
mean, this is a movie to do that
oh yeah,
because this is a movie that and yes, I did see the argument. Freddy Krueger is abso-fucking-lutely on the Mount Rushmore of horror, in my opinion.
oh 100%.
Um, I think it's illogical to say otherwise. So for you to start off with such an impactful horror stalwart, I think is amazing. So, do you remember who you watched it with?
I was by myself. I was it was on I think it was TNT. It was Halloween night. So before this, I was deathly afraid of anything spooky. Haunted
Mhm.
houses, Freddy, Jason. I had a sleepover with a cousin one night, and it was at my house, and he was going to sleep in the bed, and I was going to take a sleeping bag on the floor. And I remember screaming and crying, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Freddy and Jason are going to get me." And from there, I just, I assumed they lived under my bed. Turns out
Right.
they didn't, and I kind of wish they did because they seem like cool dudes.
Right, right. Jason's not much of a talker, but Freddie can carry
Yeah,
a conversation.
yeah.
It's funny you say that because I had a friend that watched us at a young age, and this is not lip service. This is a complete true story. Um, Jesus Garcia getting hanged by the bed sheet
Oh
in the
yeah.
jail cell, fucked him up so much he would not sleep with sheets on his bed. Absolutely refused to have sheets on his bed, and
Wow.
it was insane. Like he just
And
would not do it.
but that's the thing about Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it did for our bedrooms what Jaws did for the beach. And that's the most intimate place we have. That's where we lay our heads at night. And like if you make that scary, God, that's oh,
Where are we supposed to feel more safe at?
right. Exactly.
You know, and we're talking a little bit about Jesu, but there's not very many deaths in Nightmare on Elm Street. There just isn't, but
No.
every single one is impactful and awesome. So,
Nothing.
do you remember which kill it was that affected
Oh,
you the most?
I will never forget it. It was Tina's.
Yeah.
It was oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it because I remember what TV I watched it on. I remember how I felt. And like I don't remember, what I had for breakfast yesterday. But little 8-year-old me seeing Tina running through the alleyway and long arm Freddy, I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I and I think that scene has, if you are not a horror fan and you are trying to get into horror, watch that one scene
Mhm.
because it has everything the genre has to offer,
Yes.
and it's
And
perfect.
and like you said, like what's scarier than not being able to go to bed?
Right,
You know what
right.
I mean? Like you can't. This isn't a Jason Voorhees where you leave Camp Crystal Lake and you're okay. This isn't Michael Myers where you leave Haddonfield and you're straight. Well, I guess H2O kind of pokes a hole in that, but anyway, you can't escape sleep. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just something that you cannot get
Yep.
away from. You have to sleep, no matter how hard you try not to. It's going to happen. And Wes Craven, God rest his soul, did something so special with the Nightmare on Elm Street.
He really
Um,
did. I
and it
mean,
still really holds up today.
oh yeah, hands down. I mean, and that's like the first one really doesn't delve into that humor yet. Like
Right.
Freddy's terrifying. Like that
Mhm.
opening scene where he's making the glove, that's creepy.
Dude, and what I love about this movie, and a lot of people don't realize this just because Freddy Krueger is the icon that we know and love, he's on screen for less than 7 minutes in the first movie.
Wild.
You know what I
Such a
mean?
wild stat.
Because it's so low budget that they couldn't afford to keep applying the makeup. So that's why you don't see him in the Johnny Depp kill. You don't see him in the Jesu kill. You don't see him in the Tina kill. These are all done with your imagination seeing Freddy because they couldn't afford to keep doing the makeup. But when you see him in the alley, you see him
Watch this.
there's shadows all around him to kind of conceal the fact that the makeup is different every time you see him. And I think that it's the Bruce effect from Jaws, less is more.
Yeah,
So when you do
absolutely.
see, like I said, you don't see Freddy kill anybody in this movie. It does not happen. Everything you see is from their point of view, essentially, what they're seeing. And we're just watching them sleeping and watching it happen. And I think that's so brilliant to go back and look at that now.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and
The,
little things like there's a blanket in the movie that they're using, and it's Freddy's colors, the Christmas sweater, red and green.
yep.
There's little things like that, and I think that the attention to detail they put into this movie is so brilliant.
Yeah. Wes Craven, man. What a guy.
Did you ever see the deleted scene where they talk about Nancy's sibling?
I have not.
So there's a deleted scene.
Glenn, Rod, Tina. They all had a brother or sister once. You too, Nancy. You weren't always an only child.
Where her mom tells her that Fred Krueger had killed her sibling. And
Whoa.
that's why they were part of the mob that
Holy
went after
shit.
Freddy. Yeah.
That's super interesting.
To really, push it
Really,
home,
it really is. I wonder like why that was cut.
Right.
My favorite deleted scene I've seen is the one with Johnny Depp coming back out, just rising out of the hole.
Yeah.
That's funny. And
funny
wild that he's in it. Johnny
We
Depp.
did. That's the funny thing. We did a versus episode, Ashley and I, and Ashley wrote a joke for that episode during that moment, and she was like, Johnny Depp gets sucked into the waterbed and killed, and it was the second worst thing to ever happen to Johnny Depp in a bed. And I was just like, damn, Ash. Like,
That's
too soon,
cold.
babe. Too soon, babe.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've always been a big fan of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and what this movie was able to do for the genre, because it really is a mix of a slasher with a psychological horror. If someone wanted to tell me, like, yes, it's a slasher film, I'd be like, I agree. If someone wanted to tell me it's a psychological horror film, I agree with you.
100%. Yep.
Both sides of the coin here. But what I want to talk about here for a second, and I don't usually do this, but I feel like this is important. After watching Nightmare on Elm Street, things kind of kicked off a little bit for you. And,
Oh yeah.
Stuff happened with your family that you started to do as kind of tradition. And I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit because I feel like this is important for us that kind of maybe take some things for granted. So, you and your parents started having a little bit of a tradition going to the movies. Is that where your mom would tell you stories about going to the movies?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, even at that same Halloween, I'll never forget, I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, and then I was hanging out with my dad, and Army of Darkness came on right after. And we started watching it at the windmill scene. London Bridge is falling down.
Yep.
And we laughed our asses off.
My fair lady, ha!
And to this day, Army of Darkness is probably tied for my favorite horror movie of all time.
Okay.
So after that, the next year, 99 was just absolutely the time to be at the movies.
Sure.
So her and my dad would go out, and he would get up very early in the morning, and I'd crawl into bed with her, and I would ask, hey, how was the movie? And she would tell me the entire plot. And the first time she did it was The Sixth Sense. And that was amazing. Like, hearing how excited she was, and she built it up. And, I'm on the edge of the bed here, like listening to this story. And I'll never forget, she revealed the twist for me. Like, I didn't see it. She revealed the twist. And that was something that I was like, wow, this can be scary, but the storytelling aspect, it's special. She did it with Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton. And, I'll never forget her telling me the beginning where the girl breaks the twig. It was really special that I could feel her passion for these stories.
Sure.
And
it's funny you bring up The Sixth Sense like that, because I always say The Sixth Sense, the worst part about that movie is the ending. Not because it's bad, because it's so fucking good that people don't remember the rest of the movie.
Yep.
Like how great Toni Collette is throughout that movie. Like how, hey, let me show you where my dad keeps his gun.
Hey, come on. I'll show you where my dad keeps his gun. Come on.
Like these moments that are so scary, dude. And for your mom to be able to come home and have this conversation with you and, being Mamapedia, and giving you the synopsis of it. I think that's so fucking rad, dude.
And so Sixth Sense is actually the first, if we're calling it a horror movie, which I think it is.
100% a horror flick.
First one I ever saw in theaters. So I was so interested, and I was like, what about this part? What happened then? She's like, do you want to see it? And I was like, I think so. So we didn't go to like an AMC or anything big. We went to this very old theater in New England. And it was like an old theater. So there was a balcony. And we sat in the first row in the balcony. And I don't know what it was, if it was just how old the theater was, but it was darker. It just was so dark in the theater. And I'll never forget the scene with the little girl in the tent. Oh,
Misha Barton, baby.
Right, Misha Barton. Wow, a lot of great actors in that one. I mean,
Yeah,
Toni
dude.
Collette is just. And I was
Toni
talking
Collette
about
is the horror mom, dude.
somebody said to me, they said, "Oh, we don't get movies like Sixth Sense anymore." And I said, "That's not true. Look at what A24 is doing. Hereditary. Bring it right back to her."
Yeah. I mean, dude, even in the Fright Night remake, she was one of the best parts about it, being Charlie's mom.
I love that movie. I'm a big what's his name?
Anton?
No, Anton's great. I love him. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
He was on Doctor Who. He played the magician.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, and I can't. See, I don't mind that movie. Like,
no, it's
people
good.
think that I don't like it. I don't like the casting choice they made for Evil Ed, and it's nothing against McLovin. It's nothing against that.
Yeah,
guy, but he's not Evil Dead. Or I'm sorry, he's not Evil Ed. I'm still thinking about Army of Darkness because that London Bridge scene is going nuts in my brain. But he's not Evil Ed, man.
No.
And Evil Ed that's one of my. I very rarely get nervous anymore. When Ashley and I got to interview him, I was extremely nervous because I'm telling you, man, like Fright Night was a huge part of my childhood. And I think that's the last time I was severely nervous in person to interview somebody, just because I was like, please don't say something stupid and fuck this up, Ken. Like, don't let this guy walk away with a sour taste in his mouth about you. So, like, hearing you talk about like your love for people that don't know, and if you've watched this channel for long enough, you probably do. I was very lucky. I grew up in a video store. My mom and dad owned a mom and pop video store called Downtown Video.
That's amazing.
So, like, hearing you talk about, the love you have for your parents and the things that you guys did with movies and horror, that's a special thing that like I said, usually I don't talk about this type of stuff, but when me and you were chit-chatting about that, I was like, we got to talk about this and give love to our moms, because I know you don't have your mom anymore. Unfortunately, you lost her, and I lost my mom, and I lost my mom before Sledgehammer Horror started, so she never got to see any of this in person. I think she's very clearly watching now, but if anybody ever has stories about their moms they want to tell, I want to put that out there, because I think that a mom is the most special commodity on this planet, and
Oh yeah.
When I tried to explain this to people, man, when you lose your mom, you lose literally the one constant that's been there since the day
a piece of yourself.
Right. And so when you said that you had a story about your mom, I was like, dude, we got to talk about this, because that's an amazing story too. And it's connected into what we're doing now. And without these stories, you may not be Chris Chainsaw today.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about Mom a little bit. And Mama Chainsaw, I know you're proud too. So, talking about horror movies, obviously, we talked about your first horror movie. I do kind of want to throw a little bit of a curveball here at you for a second, Chris. We talked about your first horror movie being Nightmare on Elm Street, but here for a second, my little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you.
What's up?
What's your favorite scary movie, Chris?
Ooh.
What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
So I get this question a lot, and it's a tie, and I will never be able to pick. It is a 3-way tie between Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
Oh, what a great 3-way, man. That's a 3-way I could get pregnant on.
It's just, I can't, there's things about each I love so much that they're just one entity to me.
Sure.
Gun to my head, Evil Dead 2. That is, I think the greatest low budget, I guess you could say. I know they got more of a budget for that, but what they did with what they had is
It's a
special.
fucking one-man wrecking crew, man.
Right. Bruce Campbell is probably like, the running joke I have on Twitter is if I ever met him, I would absolutely cry and he would make fun of me. No, not a doubt in my mind. So I don't think I could live with that. So
He's a saint, dude. You would love him. We've
Oh.
had the pleasure of meeting him once. Didn't have a lot of time with him just because it was a quick meet and greet, shake hand and go.
yeah,
But he was very kind, very, very observant. He made eye contact. It wasn't a thank you. Thank you. That he shook your hand, he talked to you, he looked you in the eyes. Great
that's
human being,
special.
man. I wish that my wish is that you get the chance to meet him one day, dude.
I can't. I will definitely shed a tear because he's, in the darkest times of my life, he is what makes me laugh.
Yep.
Just rooting for Ash there's a little bit of Ash in all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And hopefully your Ash is more Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness than Evil Dead 1. Evil Dead 1 Ash.
Mine would definitely be Evil Dead 2 Ash. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely Army of Darkness, man. I'm the goofball. But, I have had an amazing time talking to you, man. And, becoming friends with you even before we started doing this and realizing all the things we had in common is always super special to me. And that's why I love to do this show. But before I let you go, we always bounce back to the same question. We're going to go back to Nightmare on Elm Street. And what we're going to do, Chris, is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics.
Yep.
All we're doing is ranking Nightmare on Elm Street on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. Chris, what would your ranking of Nightmare on Elm Street be?
Without a doubt, 5. Without a doubt.
I figured,
Yeah.
but my script tells me I gotta ask, man, so I had to ask. I know I said it at the beginning, guys, but we are at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, I want to remind you, I have all of Chris's links down in the description. So make sure that you are following on Twitter. Make sure you are subscribing on Twitch. I don't know a lot about Twitch, but following, subscribing, whatever you do on Twitch, do it for him. It's all in the links down below. Chris, please don't go anywhere, my friend. I got a couple more questions for you.
Absolutely.
Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.